Welcome back. It's good to see you again. We're continuing in the book of Job. We've now come to Job chapter 19, verses 21 to 27, with one of the most familiar and the most influential quotations from that book. Job 19, 21 to 27, Job knows he has a defender in heaven. Job is speaking. You are my friends. I am asking for your pity, since God's hand has knocked me down. There's no need for you to do the same. Haven't you tormented me enough now? If only someone would write a book for me, or chisel my words into stone, inlaid with lead to last forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives. He will at last come and stand beside me on earth. Then, after my skin has been eaten up like this, then, freed from the flesh, I shall see God. With my own eyes I shall see him. He will not be a stranger to me. During a second round of dialogues encompassing chapters 15 to 21, here we see Job once again answering Eliphaz, but this time with what looks like a much stronger faith in the relation of God's true nature as a redeemer. He's still resenting his conservative friends for taunting him as they stand by their belief in a rigid, inflexible, judgmental God. He asks them why they are siding with this caricature of God instead of supporting him, Job, their friend. The writer, of course, had no idea that the words being written would last so long or be so influential. But there was in the writer's mind a hope that they would last. I've done my best to render this difficult passage as clearly as I can. If only someone would write a book for me, or chisel my words into stone, inlaid with lead to last forever. The writer is clearly hoping for some endurance or persistence for the words being written. But I think the idea that people would still be reading these words 2,500 years later would have astounded this book's writer. More astounding still would have been the revelation that the words, "I know that my Redeemer liveth," in verse 25, would be read at funerals all this time later, and sung whenever Handel's Messiah is performed. Though difficult to understand, probably because of mistakes in copying down through the ages, the general drift of this passage is clear and positive. Job knows now that his friends, his so-called friends, do not have the same idea of God that he does. He trusts in a God who is ultimately his true friend, his Redeemer. Someone who will vindicate him, someone who will ultimately come to his defense. This looks forward to the new covenant, to the new understanding of God and his purposes revealed later in Jesus Christ. So it should be no surprise that his words, these words from this thoughtful book of well-imagined dialogues, could find their place in the funeral rituals and the high art of a new age. Tomorrow we have our last look at the dialogues in the book of Job. We look at Job's final dialogue with God himself. I'll see you then.